Hey, welcome to Geek Speak 16.
Oh, is it 16 already?
I remembered it.
That's
I
good.
remembered it. How? Kimosabi.
How do you remember it?
Yeah.
right.
That's how.
Oh.
So what do you want to talk about, brother?
Okay, so I know you just recently went and seen the new Flash movie.
Yes.
So I heard this question, and it kind of made me think. You know, Ezra, what's his name?
Miller.
You know, he had been in the news before this, and they was wondering if the movie was even going to be made because of some of the abuse.
Yeah, some of the troubles.
And the troubles that
Yeah,
he'd been
yeah.
in. And it made me question, you know, Johnny Depp had gone through the, accusation, and everybody under the sun was dropping him left and right.
Right.
But yet there's video evidence of how this boy had acted, and I'm wondering why the same community treated him different than they did Johnny.
I think that some people would have been satisfied if they dropped the movie because of some of the things that he had done or even been accused of. But money talks, and I think they were so far down the pipeline.
You don't think Johnny has money?
No,
Did you see that court case?
What I'm saying is that
you don't think he was bringing them money?
No, what I think is they had spent so much money already on this movie, and were 85% done with it, that they wasn't going to throw it away for everything they'd spent on. Now I went and seen the Flash. No spoilers here, okay? Because this won't air for a while, so if you hadn't seen it by then, it's kind of on you. But still, no spoilers, simply because you haven't seen it.
Right.
So everything I'm going to talk about is just from the trailer. So I'm not revealing anything that you didn't already know.
Okay.
So first of all, Michael Keaton's Batman, fantastic. And so what I did to my grandson Ronan was I had him go back and watch Batman and Batman Returns, which he never had seen. And so he really loved Batman. Batman Returns, it was a little longer than necessary, and I was kind of losing him a little bit on it.
Right.
And but so when we go see the Flash, when Michael Keaton pops up, which would have normally been a stranger,
right?
He's like, "Is that Michael Keaton?" And so he got to have
That moment.
at least portion of the enjoyment that I had.
Right.
Because he was familiar with that Batman, and he really liked that first movie. So Michael Keaton did fantastic. It should have just been a Batman movie, but ultimately, on a scale from 1 to 10, I give the Flash a 9.
Okay.
And
9 is not bad.
No. I mean, it's almost a 10. I mean, I'm not a DC fan.
Right.
And so for you to take a non-DC fan and make me like it, but the movie was great. I mean, the young woman they got to play Supergirl, they explained that. There's some cameos that I won't go through there that just really blew me away. And so
I have hopes.
So, there's a lot of DC. I never read DC comics, and there's a lot of people
that's a problem.
that read Flashpoint that wasn't satisfied with it because it didn't follow Flashpoint exactly. But the story they told was heartfelt. It was good. Ezra Miller, despite any of his problems, as much as you may hate him for this, that, or the other, the young man can act.
Okay.
And he's playing two roles here.
Right.
So
he 2 rows, but it's the same person.
Yeah, but it's the same person from one's older and one's younger. So they're so it's like young Robert versus old Robert would almost be 2 different Roberts.
Right.
So he did a great job, and so I even I went there for Michael Keaton as Batman, and just kind of bookend that my favorite Batman, seen him one last time on the big screen.
Right.
And so they did fantastic. I wish they would go ahead and have just a full out Michael Keaton Batman, because the CGI and stuff that happened in the first Batman. Back then they had, they had a lot of practical effects and not a lot of CGI. So Michael Keaton was able to do things in this movie that wasn't possible in the first 2. It was just so well done. And what I liked about that Batman 1989 was that, what they did with Christopher Nolan Batman movies, is they tried to look at, like, what if Batman was in the real world? What if Batman really existed, Gotham was a real city, and Batman really existed in a real world? I really wasn't interested in that. So what Tim Burton did with those two Batman movies, Batman Returns,
Right.
is he just took a fantastical comic book character, but he put him in a fantastical comic book world.
Right.
And so you just kind of suspend disbelief and realize this isn't the real world and this isn't a real situation.
But see, my fear, if they was to do another Michael Keaton Batman, there's a time to let something retire itself.
Right.
It's good. Like, I haven't seen the Flash movie, so I can't spoil it. But, for that to be a nod to the past, awesome. And that might be where you want to let it go, because you don't want to put a smirk on what is known as the legend of Michael Keaton's Batman.
Hardly anybody's going to see The Flash. The box office isn't that great. And I think a lot of it is because of what you originally brought up was the Ezra Miller problems. But the reality is, I've always been able to separate a director's skill from his personal life, or an actor's skill from his personal life. A lot of people come down on Mel Gibson way back when for some remarks he said. It doesn't change the fact he's a fantastic director. Regardless of what Ezra Miller done, and if he's broken the law, he should definitely pay. But the thing is that he's a good actor. I mean, you can't deny that.
Right.
I mean, and he did good. So, I mean, I really, really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed it. I mean, my 10-year-old grandson enjoyed it. And so it was pretty fantastic. So, anything else?
It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn? Oh, my turn?
It's your turn.
So, have you ever seen Carnival Row on Amazon?
I've seen it advertised. It's the one with the fairies and shows and stuff.
Oh, my goodness, Robert. I've never seen it. First of all, the show's fantastic.
Is it kind of like a steampunk era? Or
No,
is it? It's
no.
not like the 20s or...
No, what they did was, well, first of all, it's just a show right down your alley. Number one, it's a great show. Anybody would enjoy it. But the hero wears a boiler hat.
Oh, well, that's just going to make me want to watch it. Right?
And you love Sherlock Holmes.
I do.
And I would describe Star Wars as a mixture of fantasy and science fiction. I would describe Blade Runner as a mixture of 1940s detective shows and science fiction. This Carnival Row is a mixture of Sherlock Holmes and fantasy.
Okay.
So you got a mystery, you got a guy that has to solve it. He's got a cool hat, and
Now, who's the main character, or who's the actor?
Orlando Bloom.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And I've seen Orlando Bloom in several things. Best performances you ever get. There's not a bad performance to the whole thing.
That's saying a lot.
So the show was originally a movie script that was submitted to a studio, and it was called Murder on Carnival Row. It was written by a guy named Travis Beecham, I think his name is, and I may get that wrong.
That sounds familiar.
But the thing is, so he wrote it, and so they picked it up, but instead of a 2-hour, 3-hour movie, they decided to make a 8 1-hour episodes for the first season. And that pretty much covered the whole movie plot. I mean, the writing is amazing. It's a murder mystery. It's fantastic. The world's great. I mean, it's over in a world that's like British, and most of the actors are British.
Right.
But like you said, you've got regular humans like you and me, and then you've got fairies, and then you've got centaurs, and then you've got these things called pucks. They're basically like satyrs. They're animals from the waist down. And the story is ultimately like class system. So instead of calling them creatures, they call them critches. And so they're like lower class immigrants. So you really got an immigrant story and you got a story about the different kind of classes in society, how you got your upper class and then your lower class. And your murder mystery on top of that, and every actor and actress is in there.
So you can talk about social issues, race issues, without offending anybody.
Right.
Because there's no fairies or centaurs out
Exactly.
there to be like, dude,
Right.
did you see that fairy? It was played by a centaur. It should have been played by a fairy.
But I mean, Amazon did not do a good job of advertising the show. They have a second season, which I haven't watched.
Now, who made it?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
And so I don't care what you have to do. You've got to watch
So
that.
is the second season as good as the first? Because they kind of wrapped it up in the first.
They had that, the first movie script covered the first season. So they had to write totally new material for the second season. I've been told, and I've seen reviews, that it was just as fantastic. But there was so much of a gap between the first and second season. I'm going back and rewatching the first season. This is the third watch that I've watched of the first season.
Amazon's pretty bad about that. Are they going to do any more The Boys? Because
they're going to.
There's so much gap between their seasons.
That's the trouble when you got so much gap in between there.
We're not talking about a year. We're talking about longer.
I guess that's why recap shows are so popular. There's going to be a huge gap between a lot of shows now. You got that Screen Actors Guild strike going on.
Again?
Yeah, it's going on again. Yeah. So, but Carnival Row, you definitely need to watch it. If you like fantasy, if you like Sherlock Holmes, if you like mysteries, that is just. I mean, like I said, it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and I'll own it. I'll own it someday. I'll own a physical copy of it. So, anything else?
So I'm. I don't know if y'all know, but that I'm a big Indiana Jones fan.
Yeah.
And so it hasn't premiered here in the United States yet.
Yeah, it comes out June 30th.
But in some of our countries, and I'm sure some of our viewers are there, it's aired in like Australia and other countries like that.
Yeah.
And so they're already being rated, and there's already reviews online, and it's kind of a 50-50 right now. Even Rotten Tomatoes already has a thing up, and it's like 60%. So that means like 6 out of 10 professional reviewers that works for them has said it's a good movie. The rest of them are like, yeah, and I'm kind of like. I'm scared because I'm excited as hell, but that kind of goes back to what we were saying about, Michael Keaton. It's cool that they tipped a hat, and maybe they should have let the last Indiana Jones movie, or they should have let The Last Crusade be the last.
Right, because it was called The Last Crusade.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then they went on and done Crystal Skull. Now they're getting ready to do another one. I could see the character go on forever.
Right.
I wouldn't even care if they recasted it. I just love that character. So I'm scared. I'm excited. I want to see it, but I'm scared at the same time.
Sometime in the near future, we're going to do a 2O Geeks Talking on Indiana Jones. And by that time, you will have seen it.
I would have seen it.
And so...
and I'd either be super happy or super disappointed, and you all will get to see.
Probably won't see it, so I really look forward to hearing all about it from you. So, me and Teresa watched Renfield the other day.
I know what that
Renfield is it's a Nicolas Cage movie, and
that's why I didn't watch it.
Nicholas, what's the guy's name? I can't forget the British actor that played Renfield, but it's a comedy. And what it is basically...
Oh, it's vampire, right?
Yeah, Renfield is the guy that he's a caretaker for Dracula.
Yeah, like his servant.
So he starts going to a little community self-help group on people that are in toxic relationships.
So was Igor there?
No, it's just Renfield.
They should have had
It was funny. I mean, there was a couple parts where, you always hear laugh out loud. But rarely does that happen.
It's a laugh out loud comedy.
Uncontrollably, me and Teresa both just busted out laughing. I mean, we couldn't have contained it if you held a gun to our heads. And I mean, and it was so well written, so done, and it's got a real good story. So not only do you have the cool horror aspect of it, and you got the comedy aspect of it, but there are a lot of people that are in either physically or emotionally abusive relationships, and so there was like a little moral to it as well. Another thing I liked about it is there was nothing woke in it at all. So you had a gay character, you had a black character, you had an Asian character, but nothing was ever said about him being gay or about him being black or about her being Asian. It wasn't an issue.
Yeah, did you know that?
I get so tired of hearing about the color of somebody's skin or what they're having sex with.
But you know why now?
Wow.
Did you hear that the Oscars are actually, for you to, in order for you to win an Oscar, you have to have so many people of a certain race, so many certain people of a certain sexuality in your films, and if you don't, then you don't get nominated.
Well, I mean, the thing is nobody watches Oscars anymore either. just entertain us, you know.
Yeah, but
just
how many
entertain us.
stars?
Just entertain us. I don't care
about like saying I've got
Yeah.
an Oscar. That's kind
Yeah.
of like
Oh, I'm sure they dream about that. I'm sure you could probably go to Thingiverse and print one out on a 3D printer and paint it gold if you wanted. But anyway, it was a good movie. It was good, and I highly recommend it. And I like that they tried to entertain everybody without trying to preach to everybody.
Well, that's good.
I can go to church for that. So, my comic book recommendation for today. Remember when we were kids and when we would wake up on Saturday morning, we'd watch old black and white westerns, and they'd come on for about an hour or two before cartoons did. And so it was Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and the Lone Ranger.
Yep.
So I guess the Lone Ranger's always kind of had a little bit of a soft spot in my heart. Remember those Lone Ranger figure you had?
Vaguely.
Yeah, it had the blue shirt and a little rubber mask and the white plastic hat. And
You're just describing the Lone Ranger.
yeah. But I mean, it was made by a company called Gabrielle, and if you still had that and had his little pistols and everything, they're highly sought after.
Oh,
It's about Mego size. You remember that?
Yeah. That was about the same time you were getting the Jay West and things like that.
Yeah. So you had the Lone Ranger and
which is crazy because I still have your Jay West.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
But I don't have my Lone Ranger.
That's sad, man. That's sad because he's worth something, and Jay West isn't. But anyway, Dynamite Comics. My comic recommendation always has to be good story. It always has to be good art, and it has to be a good price. And you pick these up for a little or nothing. Dynamite put them out. They're called Lone Ranger, and they're just good, wholesome, easy to read Western stories. Nothing over the top, nothing overly violent, but they're well written.
No sexuality, no government
No. Lone Ranger and Tonto, they're totally platonic. And Lone Ranger's like Batman; he doesn't kill anybody. That's kind of frustrating to me.
Right.
But
and that's a shame to spend that much money to actually have silver bullets, not to actually use the silver bullets.
Yeah. He just uses like shoot people's guns out of their hands. But if you want just a non-violent, safe, fun comic to read, Lone Ranger is good art and good story.
They should have had a werewolf attack him
and good
instead of the
price.
silver bullets.
Werewolf's no better than an attacked Lone Ranger. Yeah. But anyway, you got anything else?
No.
All right, man. I think we're done.
All right.
We're done.
Later.